Come on. Let's turn up the heat.
USA. Round one. Fight.
Ken win.
Hello, and welcome back to Smash Bros. Ultimate Ken Guides. This is the intermediate guide. This is meant for people who have seen my beginner's guide or for people who know the basics when it comes to Ken. I'd like to remind you to comment if you have any questions, and I will be getting back to you as soon as I can. In this video, I'm going to be covering the functions of Ken's moveset, a stripped down version of conditioning, combo mix-ups, the combo tools proximity heavy jab and down smash, advantage, disadvantage, what to do on shield, and lastly, basic neutral game plan. Starting with the functions of Ken's moveset, I just want to quickly highlight most of the uses that his moveset gives him so that when you think about the neutral game plan at the end of this video, you'll have a good idea as to what your potential options really are. First are the anti-air moves. For this you have Shoryuken, that's a high priority full body intangibility, an arm intangibility, and a disjoint. Roundhouse kick, which is also a disjoint and some intangibility on the leg. Heavy up tilt, which has intangibility on the upper body. Proximate heavy jab, which is the same as heavy up tilt, except for the knockback on it is way less. Up smash, which has intangibility on the fist and a frame 1 crouch. Next are our combo tools. Mostly these are used to start a combo, starting with light up tilt, proximate forward tilt, proximate heavy jab, down tilt, neutral air, down air, and up air, though up air isn't really used as often as it's difficult to land most of the time. Out of shield options. I will link a list of Ken's fastest out of shield options. The main two to know are up B Shoryuken and up smash. Up smash obviously is the safer of the two options, but it also comes out slower frame wise compared to Shoryuken. It also has a crouch baked into the animation, so during frame 1 you can actually low profile some moves. One thing to note is that it's not possible to perform the input for Shoryuken while shielding, as the inputs will make you roll or spot dodge, so you must use the up B variation. Lastly, I want to highlight two low used moves that I feel should actually be used more. Up smash is the first. While I talked about it a little bit earlier, it's also a decent anti-air in some scenarios. I tend to think of it like a Shoryuken light that doesn't kill until higher percentages. The other low used move is light up tilt. This is a good combo tool against people who are at high percentages already, and this sets up for very easy kill confirms. Now to talk a little bit about conditioning. Conditioning is very important as far as Ken's neutral game is concerned. Ronin X made a very good guide on it, and I'll link out to it in the description. I highly suggest you watch his video, as it's going to go much more in depth than I will here. That being said, conditioning is putting your enemy into the same situation and forcing them to adapt in a specific manner to the same situation. The main thing is them adapting, because if they don't adapt, you're not conditioning them. So for instance, if they keep jumping and you keep anti-airing them, if they adapt, you've then conditioned them to not jump. If they don't adapt, they will simply just die. The reason why this is important is that it enables you to open up your option select in a greater manner. For instance, sometimes you'll face opponents who are just better than you in the air, but if you prevent them from jumping in the first place, you won't be contested in the air in the same manner. Next is combo mix-ups. A mix-up is performing combos you've done previously and doing a different combo or combo that doesn't normally work, assuming proper DI. A good example of a combo mix-up would be crescent kick to forward smash. While this isn't a true combo, if you've been crescent kick dash attacking someone all game, they will be DIing inwards, which means they'll actually be hit with forward smash if you don't use crescent kick dash attack. These combos are crescent kick to forward smash, Tatsumaki to down smash, Tatsumaki to Shoryuken if they like to jump out of hit stun, as well as DI mix-ups. DI mix-ups are good in combo substitutions for moves since they'll likely kill sooner than normal because of the switch up of DI. Lastly, condition full hops. This opens options like tomahawk grabs, shield break setups, fast fall options, and many more. Moving quickly onto the flowchart for proximate heavy jab. This shows all of the true combos. Some of them are optimal, others are not, it can really depend. Keep in mind too is that I didn't go through these combos at all percents, so they may not work at higher percentages. I'm just showing the options and the combos that you can practice. In addition to this new combo tool, we have down smash. Basically, down smash can be cancelled into any special. So before, when we had combos that ended in down smash, we can actually extend them into at least one more move. For example, crescent kick down smash can be extended into crescent kick down smash roundhouse as a true combo. The main thing to note here is that this actually doesn't change a whole lot, except for now you have a new shield break link. I call it a link because down smash has no true links on shield, so this is just a string you can do on shield. Something else to note is that down smash to Hadoken can actually extend a tech chase scenario. If the enemy doesn't tech the Hadoken, it can actually jab block them. So before with the stunner combo, it wasn't as accessible and neutral as this new combo link is. The new shield break link is as follows: down smash, roundhouse, Inazuma kick. This link by itself doesn't shield break or shield poke, but if you've done any real damage to the enemy's shield, it will actually break the shield. Sometimes you can actually cheese this link out by doing something along the lines of jab, jab, crescent kick, down smash, roundhouse, Inazuma kick. Although this isn't a real combo, the opponent would have to be mashing out of shield. This is another example of conditioning your opponent, because if you condition them to hard shield, you'll actually break their shield with this combo. You can also very obviously be punished, as this isn't a true combo, so it really just depends on the match. These next two sections I'll be talking about is advantage and disadvantage. I'm going to show basically both sides of certain situations and generally what you want to do in each, starting with advantage. The first part about advantage that I want to highlight is keeping pressure on opponents up as much as possible. This is because if an opponent is reeling constantly, they will be prone to repeating patterns or making mistakes, which enables you to read their patterns and capitalize on those mistakes. Ledge state. As previously shown in my ledge trap video, you have that whole setup, and on top of that you also have a handful of options for when they lose their ledge armor. The main two ones that I use are down smash, which is a good 2-frame option, and down air. Sometimes you can get Dare's hitbox to hit them on the ledge and actually spike them before they grab the ledge. You also have tech chase options. Again, Ronin X made a really good guide on this topic, which a link for it will be in the description. One thing to note with this video is that medium Shoryuken stuff isn't as important. It still kills slightly earlier, but it was changed in patch 3.1 to be not as nutty. Lastly, for advantage, you have stock advantage. For Ken, this is probably the best time to play him. Since you are a bait and punish character, you can essentially get the download on your opponent and stuff all their approaches, or even better, counter their approaches. This makes it tough for your opponent to win. A thing to note is that you should play as slow and as campy as possible. Throw out Hadoken safely, keep space too because it's important. Let your opponent come to you. Don't always be advancing on them, especially when you have tools to counter their approaches. On to disadvantage. For when you are in the air and falling, the general order you should use is air dodge, attack, and then jump. You do this because you can act out of an air dodge while in disadvantage, same for attack. However, air dodge grants you intangibility frames that attacks may not grant you. You also can't get your jump back like you can the other options. One thing to note is that your focus attack is considered an attack for this hierarchy. For ledge state, it's rather matchup specific, but you want to figure out if you should be recovering high or low. You've got mix-ups like focus attack dash canceling, Shoryukening into the lip of the ledge to hit them. You should also avoid committing to Tatsumaki if they go off the ledge or if you think they can hit you, because it's such a telegraph recovery option that it can end up putting you in a much worse position than if you just floated into the air. Stage disadvantage. This is mostly matchup dependent as well. You should play back if they aren't a zoner and react to their approach options. Really, this is what you want to do most of the time, but I often see people who rush in approach if they have stage control, which is good for whip punishing. If they're playing a zoner, you need to use your tools to get past their projectiles or their zone that they've made. Sometimes it's also better to just take the smaller part of the stage and force them to approach, since not all zoners can maintain a large zone as stage. An easy pattern you can get into is retreating forward tilts, roundhouse, and Hadokens. Lastly, for stock advantage, you're expected to approach, so the main thing is you need to keep mixing everything up. Specifically, the combo mix-ups or approach mix-ups, and things like full hop conditioning or stuff like short hop or fast fall have the same conditioning as well. Many people get trigger happy and just want to stay approaching, so you have to have a game plan to react to that as well. What to do on shield. You should know the shield block combos by heart. Most of the combos are really anything in a roundhouse or crescent kick to Inazuma kick. Most optimally, you break their shield, but shield poke works as well. Keep in mind too that this ends up also potentially conditioning your opponent to not block. With a more recent patch, we have now also have shield break combos that come from down smash. What this means is that if your opponent is trying to find a timing to drop their shield to either parry or get out of shield, you can actually just keep pressing buttons on them all day. For instance, the string of jab, jab, crescent kick, down smash, roundhouse, and Azuma kick has a total of 7 attacks, which is absurd if you're the one holding down your shield. This also is not a true block string from crescent kick to down smash. However, down smash is still a very good tool for shield breaking. Typically, I use down smash, roundhouse, and Azuma kick to break shields versus using the stunner combo. I also want to address conditioning for a block. Full hop aerials, except for up air, are good for setting this conditioning up. Usually you should be conditioning aerials with well spaced aerials because you're unlikely to be punished if you spaced your aerials well. However, because Ken's drift speed is slow, this is actually a lot tougher than normal. Finally, on to the last part of the video, which is explaining Ken's basic neutral game plan. This is meant to be a basic framework because your game plan will vary depending on the matchup. So because of time constraints, I want to keep this video as short as possible. I will simply provide what you should be looking to do generally, and if you can do some of these things in certain matchups, or you should be playing in a different manner, don't worry about it since this can actually change pretty drastically from matchup to matchup. Starting with bait and punish. This is the most basic thing to do with Ken, but it's also the hardest. The reason why it's so hard is that you have to basically react to what your opponent is doing, or you read what they're doing and figure out how to make whatever it is they're doing to whiff so that you can punish it. That is why it's so hard. Something to note in terms of reactive play, you should also be looking to parry almost all one-hit moves so that you can use the frame advantage. Next part of your game plan is conditioning. Again, I talked about this earlier, but how this fits is by knowing that your opponent will do something that presents Ken with great opportunities to either take stocks, deal damage, or put them into disadvantage. The main thing to know with this is that you have to build up into conditioning. You can't just do a mix-up after only building up conditioning one time. On top of that, you also have to figure out as you play what's the most optimal thing to do when you're playing, otherwise you'll likely lose. One thing to note is that while you're trying to condition your opponents, they can also be conditioning you as well. As a result of this, it's important that you try and limit the use of aerial attacks as a part of conditioning. This is because you need to condition your opponent to not be jumping before you can begin or continue aerial conditioning, which makes this sort of conditioning very difficult. On to footsies. Footsies is maintaining a set distance away from the enemies to stay out of their ranged moves, but close enough that you can react to these moves and either punish them or start to acquire a read on them. This is important with Ken because ideally you want to be moving within the range of a laggy or reactable move and get the enemy to use that laggy or reactable move to punish that use, or enable yourself to get into close enough range that you can use your good frame data to beat out most of the options that they have. Lastly, this doesn't have to deal directly with the game plan, but this is a good general tool nonetheless. It's reading. You need to make sure that you're actively watching what your opponent does and react appropriately, and store that information so that you can put them into the same or a similar situation later on in the match or even the same set, and then preemptively knowing that they'll do that same action in that same or similar situation. This is really why reading is so important on Ken, because you have to outwit your opponent in order to be able to punish them. But if you aren't constantly thinking actively, you won't actually be able to play neutral. The best example of this is watching how your opponent reacts to crescent kick combos. If they don't DI at all, you can hit them freely with a forward smash. If they DI up and away, they can be dash grabbed instead. If they DI up and away and air dodge or spot dodge once they land, you can answer that as well. The point is that you see what your enemy is doing and you adapt how you're playing based off of the information that you're given in the game. Another example is if the enemy is always doing a roll-in on the ledge, you can counter that with a boatload of combo openers, and quite safely too. This kind of thing is something that you need to be on the lookout for so you can capitalize on it in a big way. Alright, now before I end the video, I want to thank the Ken and Ryu Discord for their help on making this video. A link for it will be in the description below. This is Poppy Shampoo signing off. I'll see you next time.